Welcome to Flashback Friday. I'm Matt Carothers, a show where we honor some of the great Breeders' Cup champions we've ever had as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Breeders' Cup that will be held at Santa Anita November 3rd and 4th. And I am thrilled to be out here at Lane's End Farm in beautiful Versailles, Kentucky. This is one of the most historic, legendary horse farms that we have in all of racing. Some of the great champions have stood here at Lane's End Farm, but none of them rivaled this guy, the late, great A.P. Indy, who stood here and lived here for nearly 30 years before he passed away back in 2020. You ask anybody in the breeding industry, anybody, and they will tell you that top 5 in terms of most important, most influential sires in the history of horse racing. He was a pretty good horse as well on the track. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic at Gulfstream Park easily as the favorite back in 1992. As a 3-year-old, went on to be Horse of the Year. Aren't you craving for more when it comes to A.P. Indy? Let's go inside now and talk to the man in charge of Lane's End Farm, Mr. Bill Farish. Bill, thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it. What we do in this program is we go back and then we move forward. So let's go back to the beginning. Talk about A.P. Indy's pedigree. It's pretty good, right? Would you say it's solid pedigree? Source has
pretty good pedigree. Yeah, he was his grand dam Lassie Deer was by Buck Passer, and his dam Weekend Surprise by Secretariat. Just a phenomenal pedigree that Dad and his good friend Bill Kilroy put together over the years, and so yeah, super pedigree.
I mean, Seattle Slew, Secretariat. I mean, 2 of the all-time greats, Triple Crown winners in '73, and then in '77 with Slew. Let's go back to the sale. You mentioned your father and Mr. Kilroy bred A.P. Indy. So the sale, it was a Keeneland July sale, and he went for $2.9 million. I mean, even with that pedigree, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, surprised at $2.9 million or no?
Well, he was a special yearling for sure, and we knew that he was going to bring a big number. But you just never know what that number is going to be. 2 people getting together, bidding against each other. Once at that point in time, if you got over $1 million, you were thrilled, and he just kept right on going up to 2.9, and this gentleman, Mr. Suramaki, was kind of came out of nowhere and bought him, and luckily for all of us, for the breed in this country, he decided to keep him here, which is a little different than most of the Japanese buyers did back then. Most of them took the horses back to Japan.
What do you remember about the bidding? I mean, with that, I mean, was it? I go to sales now, and it's like not even close to that. Now we're in 2023, where it's not quite as uncommon to get money like that, and it's exciting. The room must have been unreal.
Yeah,
back then for this.
It was definitely, it was a great bidding duel, and we were somewhat anxious when it ended up the way it did, because we didn't know, how the future would unfold. But we obviously wanted to stay involved with the horse in any way we possibly could. So when we found out that he was going to leave the horse here and send him to Neil Drysdale, we were thrilled, and he then decided to send him to Bill Harrigan here and have him broken before he went out to California, and things just couldn't have gone better from there on. He did everything well at Harrigan's, and then went out to California and became a Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old.
Now, and A.P. Indy looms dangerous in the center of the track. Real West now trying to hold him off. A.P. Indy, Dance Floor comes through at the rail. A.P. Indy on the outside, and Dance Floor joining the fray at the rail. These 2 pass the 16th hole together. Dance Floor and Chris Antley. A.P. Indy and Eddie Dalahousie, but you can leave it to Eddie Dalahousie to win the futurity on A.P. Indy by a neck. Dance Floor was second. Casualize, a great run, was a distant third.
It was a darn good 2-year-old, not just a great 3-year-old.
Absolutely. He could have if Neil wasn't thinking so much about the future with him, I think he could have easily been 2-year-old champion. He was that good a 2-year-old and that precocious. But he had bigger things in mind, luckily, and took it quite easy with him at 2.
And Neil Drysdale, obviously great trainer, but known as being from old school, very patient. You think turf first and foremost when you think Neil Drysdale, so he took his time. And then he started to get really good, right? He's reeling on like Hollywood Futurity, San Rafael, and he beat a really good horse in Bertrando.
Absolutely.
In the Santa Anita Derby. It's like the first like star horse that he met, and he defeated him.
AP Indy on the outside, and then Hickman Creek homeward bound now, and here comes AP Indy on the grandstand side to take on Bertrando, and Casual Eyes running a great race between horses, but AP Indy has the lead with 100 yards to run. AP Indy and Eddie Della, who stays fast to gain the ascendancy and draw clear, and AP Indy is on his way to the Kentucky Derby with a big win in the Santa Anita Derby.
That's when he really stamped himself as a classic contender and became the Derby favorite at that point.
And so then what happens? He's a Derby favorite. He has a foot bruise. Yeah. And when did you learn of this injury? When did you realize that he was not going to be able to compete in the Kentucky Derby as the favorite?
Well, we were aware that Neil was battling his feet a little bit, and but it came to a head really the morning of the Derby. He had to scratch him, and with abscesses and things like that, it you never know when you're working with it, and you can sometimes horses fine and sound on them, and other times they're not, and that what I thought was so phenomenal on Neil's part was how he went from having to scratch him Derby morning to then winning the Peter Pan the way he did, and then having him ready for the Belmont. It was just an incredible train.
Was there never a thought of the Preakness? I mean, right away it was like we can't be back in 2 weeks. That's impossible.
I can't speak for Neil, but I don't think so. I think it was such a natural progression for him from there. It gave him that extra week to the Peter Pan, and then into the Belmont.
And the Peter Pan was obviously a dominant win at this point in time. I mean, he's getting better.
Yeah.
Each and every start. So the foot bruise behind him, he's a better horse in the Peter Pan than he was in the Santa Anita Derby.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was at his peak at that point, and just ran a phenomenal race, and obviously teed himself up for a big effort in the Belmont.
Yeah. Speaking of the Belmont, unbelievable performance from AP Indy. Great performances from the second and third place finishers. Let's go back and take a look at the 1992 Belmont Stakes featuring the great AP Indy.
And they're off in the Belmont. Casual Eyes is sent directly to the early lead, but AP Indy will run with him, and Agincourt is right there with him on the far outside. Pine Bluff broke well, and he's right there running fourth. Al Sabine to his outside. Colony Light will be taken a bit wide going into the turn. My Memoirs has been taken directly to the inside. Cristofori is in behind him. Then it's Montreal Marty, who's only 5 lengths from the early lead. At the back are long shots Jackson Port and Robert's Hero. Casual Eyes is dictating the early pace in this Belmont, which is strong, 23 1/5 seconds for the opening quarter. But Agincourt is looking for the lead now on the outside. The favorite AP Indy is right there, saving ground early, and Pine Bluff is right alongside him. It's 3 lengths back to the English runner, My Memoirs. Then it's Al Sabine running 6th on the outside. Montreal Marty, Cristofori and Steve Cawthorn down on the rail, about 9 lengths for the lead. Colony Light is 4 wide down the backstretch, then Jackson Port and Robert's Hero. The pace is strong, 47 seconds flat for the half mile, and now Agincourt has taken a short lead from Casual Eyes. Pine Bluff, the Preakness winner, right there off the embattled leaders running third, and AP Indy is tailed off a bit with 6 furlongs to go. He's 5 lengths from the lead. Cristofori is down inside, and he's making steady progress, and he's running eagerly. Al Sabine is there on the far outside. Colony Light is now called on for his run. Then My Memoirs in between horses. And toward the inside, Montreal Marty is running room as the field now moves into the far turn. Agincourt in a real tussle here with Casual Eyes. Pine Bluff right there. AP Indy poised and powerful on the outside. AP Indy's just 3 lengths from the lead, and he's now called on for his run. Then farther back, it's My Memoirs, who has now moved into 5th position on the outside. And the other European is down inside. It's Cristofori and Colony Light. And now 3 of them across the track as they come to the top of the stretch. And Pine Bluff has wrested a short lead. Casual Eyes can't stay with them. AP&D is right there now on the outside. So it's the Preakness winner on the inside, Pine Bluff. AP&D is right there with them. And on the outside, here comes My Memoirs. He's right there, third. They're in the final furlong. And Pine Bluff is all out on the lead. AP&D is right there with him. It's very tight. My Memoirs is full of run, but AP&D surges to victory in the Belmont Stakes.
So he wins the Belmont, and he does it in 2:26 and 13 100ths. So Secretariat 2:24, Easy Goer 2:26 flat, and 2:26 and 13 100ths, which even to this day is the 3rd fastest Belmont of all time. It's amazing the race was that close with that kind of time.
Yeah, it really was. There was a very strong early pace for a mile and a half, and he was up on that pace, and he took that. Eddie rode him beautifully the way he gave him that break. It actually looked like he was fading, but he was really just giving him a little breather. And then when he came on with that, with My Memoirs and Pine Bluff, I mean, it was a super race for all 3 of them. But you could tell he was the best of the group.
Yeah, Pine Bluff 47 for the half. It was just nosed out by My Memoirs for second in that race. Obviously, you're thrilled. You win the Belmont. You do it in that final time. I know you're a real upbeat person. You don't like to dwell on the past, but any part of you going, oh, we could have won the Triple Crown with this horse. I mean, it had to have been in your mind a little bit, right? No.
Oh, it definitely was. I mean,
more than a little.
I could lie to you and say that it wasn't, but
no.
But a lot of people were bringing that up. It's not like we were thinking it as much, but we were so thrilled with the performance and knew what we had potentially. As a sire prospect, he just, as you mentioned, with his pedigree and his confirmation, and then to be a classic winner. And now a 3-time Grade 1 winner at that point. It was just a phenomenal effort, and really set him up then for the Classic.
Yeah. So then Molson Million didn't go too well, and then the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I mean, I love this. Tom Durkin called it a calamitous start for him in that race. So I thought it was unbelievable that he finished 3rd in that event, because Pleasant Tap ran his eyeballs out.
Yeah.
That buyer must have been around 120 for Pleasant Tap in winning really, that race. And so AP&D had that major excuse. And then you guys bought back in before the Classic.
Right, that's correct. Yeah. So Neil, it was amazing for a horse, as you mentioned, the Molson race, and then the Jockey Club Gold Cup. But Neil never wavered in his. He was so confident going into the Classic that he was going to run a big race, and it's almost like he was just setting him up with those previous races. And
I'm debating whether I should do my mediocre Neil Drysdale impression. I'm not going to do it. We're going to win, dude. I can't do it.
I might not be able to come back to this. Afterwards, you can. I want to hear it. But yeah, he was so confident going into that, and at that point, he knew what he was dealing with, and with the foot problems, and he knew he had him right for the Classic.
And we're going to actually end the show with the Classics. We're just going to talk about it for a second here. I thought that. I mean. You mentioned the ride from Delahousie. It was one of my favorites when I was a kid in Southern California. Eddie
Mine
B.
at Keeneland, when he was a Keeneland.
Oh, God. I mean, so good. Such a great guy, too.
Yeah.
But that ride in the Classic, where he saved ground the entire race and just moved. His timing was perfect. There's always a lot of pressure in a race like that. You're aboard the post-time favorite, and the ride could not have been better.
Yeah, no, it really was. He rode him beautifully all the way through.
and able to avenge the loss from Pleasant Tap. So.
Yeah.
So again, I'm glad we went through his career because I think people forget what a great racehorse he was. Everyone knows what a great stallion and stud AP Indy is, and now all of a sudden he's retired. That was his last start. He goes to stud, and he started out for $50,000, right? That was the stud fee to begin with.
That's right. Which at the time was a very full price for a first year stallion. So he was right at the top of any first year horse in that time that I can remember, and just got a phenomenal book of mares from the get go. People were.
So it's instantaneous how successful he was. Didn't take it much time.
For a 3-year-old to win the Classic and be Horse of the Year with his pedigree and conformation, it was an easy decision for breeders, and I just never forget how well received he was, and I was quite a bit younger, and it all looked very easy to me at that point.
You look the same, Bill. You look the same as you did 30 years ago.
He just went right on, and and right off the bat, that first crop was incredible.
And then it got to the point where this to me this blew me away when I was doing a little research. 7 straight years he stood for 300,000.
Yeah,
that's mind blowing, right?
Yeah, it really is. He was he was just that popular. It was amazing. To stay at that level for that long is rare.
And the versatility, right? Broodmare, sire, when his offspring started they raced, and then when they were producing, and everything you're looking for.
Yeah, colts, fillies, everything. He really did it all from the beginning, and that's why he was able to stay at that level that long.
Yeah, how long until he retired from stud? How old was he when that took place? He was pensioned.
It was. I think he was 22 when he retired from stud. So
that's a long career.
Yeah, it was a long career. He did it. He was, but the books were a lot smaller back then, and that's one of the. I was thinking about it the other day when we were talking about doing this, but I haven't gone back and checked what his average foal crop was. But I'm going to do that after the fact.
You can text me.
Not going to help a lot.
To give you an idea of how great a sire AP Indy was. Okay, I got my phone here. How about this list, Bill? His champions include Classic winner Bernardini, Horse of the Year Mineshaft, Honor Code, one of the great fillies ever, Rags to Riches, won the 2007 Belmont, edging 2-time Horse of the Year Curlin. Other champions, Tempura, I remember she won the Juvenile Fillies. 2-time Canadian champion Marchfield, Canadians champion Eye of the Leopard, Catch the Thrill, and Serenading, and UAE Horse of the Year Festival of Light. It just goes on. Those are giant names in this game.
No, he was a phenomenal stallion for sure, and then the sires of sires, and grandsire, and this goes on and on. It's amazing, and that seems to be like articles every year about how many of the Derby runners have AP Indy in their pedigree. It happens over and over again.
Talk about your father's relationship with AP Indy.
Yeah, it was pretty special. Because AP Indy really, he is a franchise farm, and I think
that you called it. I have the franchise maker. That was your quote.
Yeah, no, he definitely was, and still is. And every farm, I'm sure, dreams of that when Dad was building the farm back in the 80s.
Because you guys are only 20 years into existence, basically, at the point where AP came along, right?
Right.
Relatively new.
That's right. If that, I don't know, not even that. So it, it was quite new, and he had a very special relationship with him, and the horse meant a lot to him, obviously, as he would anybody in that situation. But he was really a difference maker for us.
And then, when he was pensioned, and he still had 9 more years before he passed away in 2020. I know. I mean, my wife Ren's right over here. I mean, we came to visit him a lot. That must have been a popular thing to do for racing fans to come and see AP Indy.
Absolutely. Until Zenyatta showed up, he was he was the number one draw. But she changed things around a little bit. But no, all the way through, he really was a fan favorite, and everyone that came to the Stallion Barn would, they'd all stop and pay homage to him.
So speaking of my wife, this is not my area here, but she said, ask this question. How he passed his eye on to his offspring.
Yeah,
explain with that.
But he had a white eye that definitely, he would stare you down with it, and a lot of people don't look at that as being a positive, but I think he might have changed a few people's opinion of having a white eye.
And so we'll forward to when he passed at the age of 31. I think it was February of 2020. I mean, you had to know it was probably coming fairly soon, but still, anybody, doesn't matter, horse, bird, anybody you love that means a lot to you, even if you know they're probably not in the greatest shape, when it actually happens, it's devastating.
Yeah, it really is. And he was a stalwart out in that paddock right in front of the right as you pull up, and it was definitely a loss for a lot of us. And don't get me emotional. I think I'm finally past that point, but only barely. But he meant a lot to a lot of us. And
I mentioned what he meant to your father. I should mention Asa Haley, the groom who took care of him, and they were fairly inseparable for a long time. So it was probably the hardest for him of anyone.
Absolutely. I think Asa might have been more prepared for it than anybody.
Yeah, because he knew more than anybody what was happening. It was imminent.
He was with him on a daily basis. But Asa's kind of known around town. People that came and saw him and met Asa, he gained a little bit of fame from it, and which was neat to see, because he's a great guy.
No, I appreciate you doing this. One last question, and then we're going to throw to the classic. You have a pretty good racehorse here named Flightline now, and so AP Indy is a sire of Pulpit, great horse trained by Frank Brothers, who was the sire of Tappet, who's become one of the all-time great stallions. Won the Wood Memorial. I think it was an outside post. Michael Dickinson, Ramon Dominguez, who was now I'm just showing off now, and who's a sire of Flightline. So that's pretty cool. It's the AP Indy.
Yeah, it's great
line, right?
It's really fun to see, and it just shows what an influence he's had.
Bill, I appreciate you doing this. Thanks for joining us on Flashback Friday, and we are going to leave you with AP Indy doing his thing in the final race of his career, winning the Breeders' Cup Classic back in 1992 at Gulfstream Park.
In the game, and they are off in the 9th. Breeders' Cup Classic, and AP Indy breaks well today, comes out running for the lead. Jolie's Halo with good speed as well. Defensive play is there toward the inside. Thunder Rumble is up close to a strong early pace here as they race by the stands for the first time. It's Jolie's Halo and Thunder Rumble, and those two hook up in an early duel. Defensive play is in behind him. Sultry Song is now moving into 3rd. Technology is 4 wide, running in 4th. Then toward the inside, defensive play is 5th. AP Indy is running 6th. Jolifa is a wide 7th. Zoman is up close to an early pace. Marquetry's there on the outside. And then it's Pleasant Tap. He's running now in 11th position. He's only about 8 lengths from the early lead. European Rodrigo Di Triano's to his outside. Then it's 5 lengths to Rain Road. And far, far behind is Strike the Gold. He's already 20 out of it. And the half went in 45-4. A sizzling pace here as they move into the backstretch. Thunder Rumble is pressed hard under intense pressure from Jolie's Halo. Technology is trying to keep pace in third. Defensive play is right there now, racing in fourth position. Sultry Song is fifth. Zoman is only 5 lengths from the lead. Jolifa's moving strongly as they move into the far turn. AP Indy's dropped back in the pack. Pleasant Tap is in between horses now. He's still about 7 lengths from the lead. And then it's Marquetry as they're on the far turn. And Thunder Rumble rolls to a 2-length lead now. Defensive play has moved in toward the inside. Jolie's Halo's in an all-out drive. He's working hard to keep up. AP Indy is finding his best stride, and he's moving powerfully in between horses as they move toward the top of the stretch in this 9th Breeders' Cup Classic. Defensive play. Thunder Rumble still there. AP Indy's in an all-out drive, and Pleasant Tap is coming with giant strides on the inside. They're coming to the finish. It is AP Indy in front. Pleasant Tap, one last run at him. AP Indy wins the Breeders' Cup Classic by 3 conclusive lengths. And then it was Pleasant Tap finishing second, and Jolifa was third, and the time was 2 minutes and a fifth. AP Indy, the Belmont Stakes winner, comes charging through the stretch here. He was up close, then he dropped out of it and came on like a tiger to win the world's richest race.